Today we're talking about how much money you need to live comfortably. With rising interest rates, food costs and energy bills, it's the hardest it's been in recent years in order to feel financially secure. So we're going to go through all of the numbers and I'm going to share with you guys a very simple 4-step plan that if you follow each and every one of the steps, I pretty much guarantee that you'll be living far more comfortably than you were before. But first, we must address the problem. 40% of people here in the UK live payday to payday. It means that 4 in every 10 people that you walk past in the streets are currently struggling to make ends meet, which is quite a dark statistic. And look, I can certainly see how people fall into the trap of having financial shackles tied around their ankles. Let's talk about the numbers. If you were to line up every single employed person here in the UK, the income for the person slap bang in the middle is £2,253 per month, which is the equivalent to £27,036 per year. And from that income, we typically spend our money in 3 core areas. We've got our needs, wants, and savings or debt repayments. Now, based on the personal finance principle of the 50-30-20 rule, budgeting £2,253 per month should look like this. 50% into necessities is £1,127, 30% into wants is £676, and 20% into savings and debt repayments is £451. But now let's take a look at actually what's occurring based on the average reported numbers here in the UK. Here are your average figures for your monthly necessities. These total £1,375.80 per month if you're a homeowner. If you're a renter, you can increase that to £1,830.80. But I would caveat this by saying these are just average numbers. The reality is if you bought the average priced home today as a first-time buyer at £287,546 with a 10% deposit and a 2-year fixed rate mortgage of 6.19%, right now your mortgage repayments would be £1,698 per month. So if you're a first time buyer, the reality is that your cost of necessities would jump to £2,415.80, which herein lies the big problem. For first time buyers, necessities account for 107% of your monthly income. For your average renter, it's 81.2%, and for the average homeowner, it's 61.2%. That's astronomically higher than the 50% budgeted amount that kind of personal finance principles suggest that you should be spending on your necessities.
If you're financially stressed, you're not alone.
But if you are alone, this is where it can become extremely difficult to stand up on your own 2 feet financially if you live here in the UK. Because if you get a partner, all of a sudden the burden on your income becomes half as much. And while still challenging, those numbers then become far more manageable. So if that is the case, and if we should be able to manage our money based on these principles, at least statistically speaking, now let's dive into part 2. Well, to me, for the most part, it's all to do with your relationship with money. Because it's kind of like having a relationship with your partner. If you treat them well, respect them, and you don't abuse them, then they should be in your life for a long period of time. Just like your money should. But if you don't value your money and treat it like it's disposable, then your money won't stay in your life for any prolonged period of time. Almost like a one-night stand.
Naughty, naughty.
And behavioral finance studies show that a huge amount of people don't have a good relationship with money. I couldn't find the figures over here in the UK, but over in the United States, there are about 20 million people that have the compulsive spender personality type, which represents about 6% of the American population. It means they make unnecessary purchases, perhaps spend where they're emotional or a little bit distressed, or perhaps even just in need of a little bit of immediate gratification.
Come on, Bart, we can't stop spending now.
But what shocked me even more is when I started to dive into the gambler personality type. According to the Gambling Commission, about 43% or 28.9 million people participate in gambling every month here in the UK. That's everything from chucking a tenner on the football scores on the weekend right the way through to blowing your money in a casino.
Lost everything.
To me, just based on those 2 personality types alone, it's clear that there is a portion of the UK population that are very much reckless with their money. And that creates financial constraints on their lives that perhaps don't even need to be there. And we'll talk about some of the ways that you can get on top of this just a little bit later on in the video. So we've touched upon the problems and the personality types, so now let's dive into part 3. So according to a study that was completed, people said that this is the income that you need in each geographical area in order to live comfortably. London, of course, is the highest at £65,000, and basically the higher up north you go, the cheaper it gets, or at least for the most part anyway. Or basically, if you just step outside of London and probably go 50 miles north of the M25, you're looking at an average income, if you like, that would allow you to live comfortably of about £45,000 per year. Now, the problem that we discussed at the start of the video is that the median income here in the UK is only about £27,000. So you're actually £17,964 short of what you actually need. And let's be honest, your employer is not exactly going to turn around and give you a 65% pay rise next month. So how exactly do we tackle the shortfall? Well, let me now take you through this very simple 4-step process, which is just as much about mindset as it is about income. And it starts off with step number 1, which is a financial detox. We've all heard about the health detox before, where you stop drinking alcohol and stop drinking caffeine in order to cleanse your body from toxins. Well, a financial detox is pretty much exactly the same, but instead of stopping consuming things that are bad for our health, we're going to stop consuming things that are bad for our finances. I guess it's that mental state of moving away from the compulsive spender or the gambler personality type in order to stop buying the stuff that you inevitably don't need or want. The only key difference being whereby a health detox may only be 2 or 3 days, a financial detox should be at least 3 months. The reason for this is that it should help essentially create and shape new financial habits. And the way that will help you actually execute on this is by moving into step 2, which is a financial audit. It's not easy to know where your money is or how even you're spending it if you've never gone on to analyze your bank statements before. But this is where you'll find some of the silent killers that are eating into your income every single month. It's the subscription services that aren't used, it's the needless coffee that you bought whilst out shopping, or the extra takeaway this weekend because you couldn't be bothered to cook. I'm certainly not saying don't enjoy the small pleasures in life, but if you're living paycheck to paycheck, sometimes it's a case of short-term pain for long-term gain. So print off the last 3 months worth of your bank statements and start ruthlessly crossing off some of the expenses that weren't exactly necessary. Because this is what I would call your lost treasure chest, which is something that you need to keep in your possession moving forwards and not in the possession of your favorite retailer. Step number 3 is to follow the 50-30-20 rule. Because one way, of course, to keep track of your money is to set a very strict budget. Where, as I said, you deploy 50% into necessities, 30% into wants, and 20% into savings and debt repayments. And one of the easiest ways to do this is to either use a budgeting app like Emma, which I'll leave a link to down in the description below, or just simply set yourself up an Excel spreadsheet. This isn't a paid sponsorship, but if you do use an app like Emma or any of the other budgeting apps out there on the App Store, for the most part, they will help you track your finances, potentially connect all of your bank accounts, track and cancel any unused subscriptions, and just generally help you understand where your money goes. As I said, there's lots of apps out there, but Emma is one of the most popular and highest rated ones over on the App Store. So be sure to check that out if you're interested. The 4th and final step is to increase your income. Perhaps a little bit easier said than done, but if you want to be financially successful, then you need to have a financially abundant mindset. The reality is there are just normal people working 9 to 5 jobs, earning 50, 75, 100,000, 150,000 pounds plus every single year. Yes, of course, these jobs are harder to come by, but they are certainly available, and it just certainly shows that everybody has the potential to increase their earning capability. You may just have to apply yourself in a slightly different way than you've done before. It may mean upskilling or getting another qualification. It may mean moving to a different company every couple of years. Or it may even mean starting a side hustle if your 9 to 5 income growth is somewhat limited. Whatever route you go down, there are certainly always options. And instead of thinking that you can't, you need to start thinking about how can I? If you're able to open your mindset to new possibilities, then you certainly won't go far wrong. It's what I did with this YouTube channel, and it's kind of working out for me so far. Now, if you do want to know how I set up all of my finances whilst also working a 9 to 5 job, then be sure to click on this video next. But before you go, be sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Drop a like on the video, guys, on the way out. With that being said, I'll see you over in the next one.